Boys Season 3. Sorry, I'm late to the party on this one, but yeah, everyone's been saying it's really good. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Game of Thrones Season 4 in some ways. Like, in my perception of Game of Thrones, Season 1 through 3, you had these really long, dense scenes of characters just exchanging dialogue that was layered with, like, this subtextual characterization and exposition about the family history and the world history. They were sponge seasons for you to soak up a massive amount of data about the world and characters and plot and everything. Season 4, not that they're, like, purely exposition, but it's just the scenes are super dense with information. Season 4 had a lot of more long tone-setting scenes, like, for instance, the Purple Wedding. You just get minutes and minutes on end of just Joffrey embarrassing Tyrion and generally being an asshole. It's such a long amount of screen time without vital information, like a dense, vital amount of information being given to the story. And it's only, informationally, it's only reinforcing character traits we already are aware of. We're not learning anything, per se, but it's just a long, drawn-out scene that's very satisfying to watch because of the build-up of development. It's just a vibe, I was wondering how they were going to manage to make Homelander generally unstable for the whole season without it becoming dull or repetitive or without having him finally do something drastic. And they have so many great fun scenes with Homelander this season, just generally acting how he built him up to act, and it's just super satisfying to watch. It's just such a fun time. There are almost no low points in the season. The only weaker parts, in my opinion, are with Frenchie's subplot with the Russian lady, but everything else is on point. They've got so much style, so many solid fucking weird ideas going on this season. The fucking Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial with A-Train was amazing. The show does a great job of blending dark comedy with really great character moments, like with the fucking Soup Lives Matter scene, going into A-Train's confrontation with Huey in the next episode, etc. Anthony Starr obviously delivers again and again, everyone knows this, but I also thought MM's actor, Laz Alonso, fucking kills it this season. He gives a mesmerizing performance over and over. Ashley's actress does a fantastic job too, as does Carl Urban. Everyone is great. You know me. I have to get my gripes out of the way. Even if I love the show, I've just got to, what would I have to talk about if I didn't have something to complain about? It's the core of my being, right? Like, what would I even have to contribute if not just to whine about fucking stupid shit? So, my main things with this season that I'm not 100% on board with, I don't think the moral quandary of using Temp V is as damning as it's portrayed to be. In general, I'm very pro-Butcher this season, even though this seems like the season where the rest of the team is the most against Butcher. There aren't a ton of choices Butcher makes that I fundamentally disagree with. Like, yeah, he says some mean stuff to Ryan, but this is obviously wasn't malicious, and it just reflects Butcher's inability to communicate in a more understanding and tactful way. And also, that scene bothers me because I think that kids are not that vindictive or stupid. How old is Ryan supposed to be? He seems like a fairly smart kid, I don't know. He doesn't seem like he just seems like a normal kid. I don't really buy that he would not get over this interaction with Butcher or and some level understand what Butcher was doing. It's not like he was left completely alone. He was with Mallory the entire time, who could have also consoled Ryan in the following days and come to an emotionally healthy understanding on some level. I also don't buy that Ryan is dumb enough to not understand that the guy who raped his mom is a bad guy, even if he offers Ryan some companionship. I just think that this is a trend in media. It's a kind of oversimplification. It just seems like an oversimplification of children's emotions and thoughts. Like, oh, Butcher said one mean thing to Ryan one time, so Ryan switches sides and becomes supervillain. This is definitely my biggest problem with the plot of this season. I am not a fan of when child characters are treated like emotional amoebas, and their emotions are just yes-no switches for plot devices to trigger, and they're not fucking, like, semi-competent little humans. So yeah, I'm pretty pro-Butcher this season, relative to, like, real life. I agree with trying to use Soldier Boy to kill Homelander. In fact, I think they also just could have done that. The climax, the final episode, kind of, their conflict falls apart in a very flimsy way. I don't think it would have been that hard to just tell Soldier Boy, hey, let's kill Homelander, but please do not kill the child. I don't like him dead, please. But apparently this is a sticking point. Oh, they just decide to fight Soldier Boy and lose their best shot at taking down Homelander. Seems like the conflict could have been resolved in an infinite number of ways, that they could have come to a fixing that situation. I mean, Soldier Boy is also a bad guy, but logically I think Homelander is the much bigger existential threat. Even just on ability, based on his flight and his super speed and his laser eyes. The fact that he cannot be knocked unconscious with this weakness that Soldier Boy has, just Homelander having a much more unstable personality. Homelander being able to fly is a big deal. It makes him infinitely more dangerous to a country than Soldier Boy. Is Soldier Boy going to, level an entire city? He's just a dude with super strength and invincibility. Even in the show, in the flashback, Edgar says that Homelander is fundamentally better than Soldier Boy because he can fly. That power is not to be taken lightly. The point is, they really should not have beefed with Soldier Boy and just found some workaround to let him kill Homelander. I've heard people, and I don't think it would have been that difficult to convince Soldier Boy to do so. They've reasoned with him on other points. I've heard people say, Homelander and Butcher are very similar. If Butcher does this, oh, how is he even any better than Homelander? Are you fucking mental? Are you alright in the head? Homelander is a sadistic monster that's actual ambitions are to be in complete control and basically do whatever he wants, and he will fucking enslave the human race if he feels he has to. Butcher's goal is to stop a maniacal dictator. Hello? There's a big difference between killing people because you want to rule the entire world with an iron fist and killing people because you want there to be a future for your species and because you're trying to take down a fundamentally dangerous person. They give Butcher shit for taking V, but V is a tool. As the series even reinstates, V is a weapon no different than any other. It's a sword and a shield. It gives you power and it protects your skin, whatever. They need a weapon to kill Homelander. They went to Russia to get a powerful weapon, and it makes no sense to search for a powerful weapon to kill Homelander, but then turn around and say, oh, we can't use Temp V because no one should have that kind of power. Of course someone should have that kind of power. You're seeking power to kill Homelander. That's the entire concept. This is basically a preemptive to the Sinews of Peace Summit, where after World War II, they had to figure out how to regulate nuclear weapons. It's a situation where if one country makes nukes, you kind of have to make your own as a deterrent. It's obviously better if no one has them in the first place, because it's mutually assured destruction. But yes, you need to have something to fight back, else nukes control the world, the one person who has it. Temp V is fine. I am fine with it. I have zero moral issues with using Temp V, other than obviously the fact that it fucking kills you. They shit on Butcher for killing Gunpowder as well, kind of, but Gunpowder tried to murder him illegally in cold blood, just fucking ice him in a fucking parking garage. I think it's one of their more reasonable murders for Butcher to kill Gunpowder. Gunpowder did more wrong than, Translucent, and they still killed him. They also give Butcher shit for when Kimiko got hurt, but yeah. Butcher was kind of being an asshole to his team in Russia, but they all agreed to go there, under the assumption that they would find a weapon to kill Homelander. It's not Butcher's fault that they went there. Everyone was in collaboration on the idea of why they were going there. They found Soldier Boy. None of them knew they were going to find. Kimiko got hurt. It's all of their faults together, / none of theirs. It's very strange that they all just start shitting on Butcher right after this, as if it was somehow all his fault, when this was something everyone was there for and anyone could have stopped at any point. I think this is the number one season where Butcher is the most reasonable, in fact, out of all the seasons. Other little things. I know this is more of a result of the story suddenly adding this new plotline in for this new season, but Mallory gives the most half-assed excuse for why she has never told them or anyone else about Soldier Boy's supposed death in Nicaragua. She just says, oh, Nicaragua's ancient history. Besides, I could be killed just for telling you. By who? What do you mean? I was under the impression that everything we're currently doing could get us killed. What? This is a bafflingly weird excuse for Mallory to have hidden this potential lead for the last, decade or so? And it's not like, it's obviously not like they're going to follow through on that. Has Mallory been killed for revealing that information? Will she in the future? Of course not. She just said that line as like a throwaway excuse for why she did not disclose this information, when really it makes no sense that she wouldn't have disclosed this information a long time ago. And last gripe, not even really a gripe, just a lack of understanding, I think, but I don't really get what I'm supposed to take away from Soldier Boy. Even from the concept, I don't know how I'm supposed to interpret him being taken by the Russians and stored and experimented on for all of that time. We see that Vought told Noir to take out Soldier Boy, and then Noir told the rest of his team, other than gunpowder, but would Vought really allow for a foreign power to steal their strongest soup ever? Did Vought know that Noir was going to make a deal with the Russians? Who made the deal, and why? What have the Russians been doing with him all this time? They seem to have made him stronger, and it also seems like they were experimenting on giving other animals in their lab powers. Maybe they were making headway into soup research. Does that matter? Does it matter that this Russian agency has been researching soup shit for decades? Does that impact the global power dynamic? Is that something Vought is, worried about? Are they in collaboration with Vought? Has Russia had access to this research for years and just done nothing with it? And if so, why? From every party involved with this exchange, why? Why did Vought or Noir or the rest of Payback think this was a good idea to give him to Russians? Why were there no consequences to anyone or the country or the company or anything to doing that? Why has that not affected the global power dynamic? Nor did anyone seem to think that there would be consequences to doing that. They just hand him off to the Russians and that's it? Forget about him? Not a problem anymore? Russia doesn't matter? Whatever they can do with him doesn't matter? It's so weird to me. But with, Soldier Boy's character, I feel like there are a lot of angles I could look at him from that I feel like weren't resolved. He's very unstable and has 2 severe outbursts from his PTSD, but then that's never brought up again. His character doesn't go in this direction of, that it kind of implies, or you would assume, that it's he's not, necessarily the worst person ever, but he just can't control his PTSD, he's just unstable, it's too dangerous to keep him alive. His PTSD becomes irrelevant to his character after Herogasm. It doesn't affect the plot, or his motivations, or how we perceive him, or why people take action against him. I guess in the finale climax, they're trying to gas him out, and he says, I'm not going back in the fucking box. So maybe that's implying that the gas mask they put on his face did also trigger his PTSD there, which caused him to generate his huge explosion that he did. But that's something that I feel like he would have been cognizant of anyways. He would have wanted to make the explosion because he was getting fucking attacked. Not to mention that every prior time has been strictly Russian pop music triggering his reactions, and nothing else. And that's never brought up again. The climax is also weird, and I don't understand how it was resolved. Maeve tackled him out of the tower, and he created a gigantic blast, but it was over? How? Was he knocked unconscious? Did the gas finally kick in? I mean, he didn't still have the gas mask on him, and even if he did, the explosion would have destroyed it. He wasn't still inhaling the nerve agent at that point. Did he, exhaust himself by doing that gigantic blast and he just, passed out? What happened? How did they stop him? He just did an attack. He did a big attack, but then it just cuts and, the fight's over. Maeve survived somehow as well. Not sure how that happened. She wasn't even unconscious when they found her in the alleyway and got her into the van. So if the fall didn't knock her out, how did it take out Soldier Boy? Anyways, back to his characterization. I do find Soldier Boy interesting in all the aspects, despite the lack of using his PTSD as the plot progresses. He's got this kind of, extremely overconfident attitude. Huey criticizes in several parts where he says that anyone who acts that tough is lying. And we can see his, man-baby reactions in the flashback to Mallory not reciprocating his, incel-y pickup lines. So he has this very clear image of himself and what he's been taught as, a tough, real man. He's not like Homelander, who is very unsure of himself and kind of flip-flops and doesn't know what he wants a lot of the time and isn't sure who he should be. If he should, kill his humanity or embrace his humanity and try to be loved by people, Homelander is far more unstable, whereas Soldier Boy thinks that he knows who he is and he isn't trying to change that or aspire to be anything else. Soldier Boy's sense of masculinity is inherited from his father and what his father taught him about what he thinks masculinity is, suggesting he lives in a state of denial about his own achievements. He believes the same thing his dad did, but his dad did not think he was a man. So he seems to believe himself to be this war hero, even though he's not, and all these things that he isn't really, to reconcile his learned toxic beliefs with his own lack of achieving those ideals. It's funny because he says he thinks he could do a better job of being a father than his dad was, but from how Soldier Boy describes it, his dad neglected him and sent him off to boarding school and just didn't interact with him. His dad just ignored him, didn't think much of him, and thought he was a disappointment, and that's what happened to Homelander. Homelander lived without being around Soldier Boy, and, he's just also an extremely violent egomaniac. He's a racist, and he's very vitriolic reactions to anyone who he thinks is not measuring up to his ideal of masculinity or how people should be. Anyone he thinks is trying to get more than what they earned, which he believes is nothing most of the time. He's a self-righteous, delusional, violent asshole with his fixation on what he thinks people are supposed to be. See, Soldier Boy is contrasted with Butcher and Huey. Temp V, right? Butcher and Huey, the core conceit of the season, are people who grew up without powers, have been normal people their whole lives, but now they have powers, and it fucks with their perception. Soldier Boy was the same way. Unlike most soups, when he was an adult, he was an adult when he got his powers, instead of being dosed as a baby. He grew up without powers, feeling useless, like a fuck-up, and internalizing his dad's disappointment and his toxic masculinity perceptions. Then once he got his powers, he used those powers to cover up those insecurities he learned. He just acts like he's the manliest man ever, but he didn't really fight in war. Women don't really like him. His team doesn't respect him. He's not funny, even though he thinks he is. He can't sing, even though he thinks he can. He thinks he's so cool and manly, but he's a fuck-up in every respect. He just has so much power that he can beat up everyone else through pure force to tell himself that he's a real man and that they aren't. Anyways, yeah. Great season, great show, really fun. Even the characters being shitty like Huey the whole time doesn't feel frustrating at all. Huey feels really compelling in how he creates problems and lusts for that power. I love Ashley. I love that Ashley gets her own Ashley. It reminds me of the two Bobs from Office Space. It's perfect. Ashley is excellent the whole season. I love her. You have no idea. I like the Deep's wife, Cassandra. Like, she's kind of an asshole, but she's weirdly overpowered. I think that she's the only character, other than Madeline Stillwell back in Season 1, who could come up with things to say to Homelander to convince him of things, or to, leave a positive impression on him. It's very bizarre how confident and capable Cassandra is at figuring out what the Deep should say to Homelander to make him like him, when we have not seen that ability from pretty much anyone else. The action in The Boys has historically been really shitty. In The Boys, Season 1, some of the most god-awful action direction I've ever seen in an otherwise good TV show. And it's much better this time around. It's more focused on the powers, but even the fisticuffs are a lot better. Maeve's fight with Homelander in the finale, most combat encounters aren't really fights so much as one person beating the other person with ease, but the Hero-gasm fight is really satisfying, and even the animated fights in Noir's Memories are really well done too. I'm running out of steam here, but yeah, excellent show. Everybody knows it. It's really good. That's all for me today. See you later.